Hey guys, some of you watching may know that in addition to music and photography, I also like to write. I know I talked about this a lot when I started the channel a couple years ago because I was in the process of writing a new short story series, which actually wasn't something too new for me at the time. When I was in high school, I wrote another short story series called In Step with Robert Fostoria, and it was basically just like a written sitcom about a bunch of teenagers in high school. The main character, Robert Fostoria, was based around me, so I gave him a lot of the qualities that I possessed at that time. So he was in band, and he played saxophone, and he bowled in a bowling league. Of course, I did make him appear cooler than I actually was. Why would I admit that? But anyway, this year, 2017, marks 10 years that I initially thought up the idea for the story, though I didn't start writing it until the fall. And it lasted actually quite a while. It lasted about 4 years. I wrote about 107 episodes that were about 12 or so pages, with some two-part episodes and some longer episodes, and then some even longer stories that I treated like movies. So what I'm getting at is that while I was thinking about it being 10 years that I started this, I thought it would be a really neat idea to go back and reread some of these episodes, excerpts from these episodes, and share them with all of you. I will warn you though, these stories are poorly written, have a lot of spelling and grammar issues, and just talk about scenarios that would never actually happen in real life. Also, most of the characters' names are different iterations of people or friends of mine that I knew in high school, off by like 1 or 2 letters. Now that's with the exception of Robert's friends, Chicago, Ferris, and Jeremy Deschler. Don't ask me why I named him Chicago. I don't even know why. That's actually not even his real name, apparently. Alright, so here we go. Let's get into some of these excerpts. This is probably the most famous excerpt of all of them, and it's from the second episode that I wrote. Dumb freshman, Mr. Blazer said, and started laughing along with the entire class as Robert sat there with a skirt on that came a quarter of the way down his legs, staring at the wall, hoping that a date with Rochelle would not be as painful as this. Typical high school problems, right? Let's get another one here. Let's see. How about this one? At lunch, Robert and Jeremy told Roswell in Chicago about Miss Riho. She actually gave Jim detention for sneezing, Roswell asked. That's wiggity wiggity whack. Yeah, she did. And never do that again. I have no words as to where I got some of this stuff from. No, I do know. It was from television, because I watched a lot of TV back then. Maybe she has lunch now, Chicago said. He bit into his sandwich and took a sip of his root beer. For some reason, people found it funny that they would sip root beer, and they would always make fun of their sipping root beer. That was not like Tom, Gundy said. Suddenly, the group found themselves covered in the most likely expected thing, paint. Like you said, Rochelle, artists know best, Tom said, smiling. The thick paint made it hard for them to stand up straight. That was like Tom, Derek responded before he slipped and fell onto the floor, Tom beaming broadly as he did for the rest of class. I thought it would be funny to have a character who would dump random things on top of people's heads. And that was a recurring theme for like the first 2 seasons. He's what? Chicago asked at school the next day. He's changing the name of the bowling alley. Why? I don't know, Robert answered. That's ridiculous. What's wrong with Raven Lanes? Chicago asked. Apparently he thinks the name should be fiercer, less frightening, Robert explained. Ravens aren't frightening, Jeremy protested. They are fine birds that don't bother with people. Put a sock in it, Jeremy, Chicago said. No matter what you do, Daryl's still gonna change the name of the lanes. This episode exists precisely because of a situation that happened in my life that I treated so trivially and so passive-aggressively that whenever I go back to this episode, I'm like, why did I write this? Robert Fostoria, the guy said. Vinny Vection, Robert replied. Why am I not surprised that you're here? Because I'm better than you, Vinny said. What chair are you? Ha ha, very funny, Fostoria. Where's Jeremy and that other kid, Slatington or Ironton or whatever it was. Slatington and Ironton were 2 towns very close to where I grew up. Well, you said the saxophone wasn't your dad's. Someone gave it to him, Chicago asked. Yeah, I guess. He got it from a neighbor when he was in middle school, I guess, Robert explained. Where did your dad live when he was in middle school? Chicago asked. North of here in downtown, I think, Robert said. The street's name was Ellen. We should go and find it this weekend, Chicago suggested. Ellen was actually the name of the street that my dad grew up on, so I think that's why I put it in here, so I would remember it. By the way, if it wasn't clear until now, or ever, or at all, this show takes place in Springfield, Illinois, a place I have never been to, and I thought I could write a show that took place there. Snow blanketed the grounds around John Yastreb High School one day in late February. I think I started almost every single episode with a description of the scenery. Not guilty, Your Honor, Tom stated, standing behind his stand. Bail, the judge asked. We have agreed at 30, Your Honor, Miss Wiley stated. Preferably if a guilty plea is entered. Mr. Bechtel, the judge asked. The defendant wishes to maintain his innocence in this case, Your Honor, Mr. Lambert said. Then bail will be set at 55, Your Honor, Miss Wiley said. I know nothing about courtroom procedures now, and I knew nothing about it then in 2010 when I wrote this. I don't even know why I thought I could fake it, because I'm reading this now, and to me it's like, this does not even seem right or legitimate at all. Alright, I think we got one more. You're lucky, Tom said. I have 2 tests on Friday, a lab due Monday and something else. I forgot what Jessame assigned. Chicago grunted and cursed at his game again. Robert looked on in disgust. Chicago, will you please put that away? Robert asked nicely. It's just getting annoying. I remember this. I wrote this story specifically because this was actually, I wrote this in college. This was my freshman year of college. And I lived on a floor with 43 other guys, and over half of them were so into this game called League of Legends. And I mean, they were into it. They were so into it, it consumed so much of their time. And since the show was still in production at that time, I took one of the last episodes I wrote and I wrote an entire episode around how stupid I thought the game was. Specifically because everyone practically played it. I think I knew about 2 or 3 guys on the floor that did not play it. Alright guys, well that's all of the excerpts that I'm going to read for you today. If you'd like to hear more from this, let me know in the comments or in some way, because there's a lot in these, and I have like 107 episodes. I have longer episodes, so I could just go through these and tell you all about why I wrote certain things or what exactly went into writing these. So lastly, 2 of my friends from high school who I still keep in contact with a little bit, who became very enthralled with this series early on, and by early on I mean like halfway into season 1 or so, created 2 videos of them reading the episodes and animating them. They only did 2, episodes 1 and episode 2. I'm gonna link to those 2 videos right over here. You can go and watch them at your leisure. They're about a half an hour long because that's about how long I plan the episodes to be. They're kind of quirky, I don't know. Go and watch them. They're pretty good. I approve of them. They credit me, so that's all I really wanted with this anyway. Thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. God bless, and I will see you all next week.